All right, welcome back to the Mac Podcast, where we talk about entrepreneurship, business, and everything in real estate. And we always challenge the conventional thinking in, thinking unfollow the herd or unconventional thinking. And, if you're tired of just following the same old advice that's given out there, could be from your parents or grandparents, we're trying to give a perspective in business that is happening right now. Today I have someone on the channel that has a similar story to me, started from pretty much ground zero. I can always, be thankful for someone else that's started from the bottom, because it helps us all along our journey, because no matter when you're going to start your journey, you're going to be starting at the bottom, and you're going to make that commitment to actually taking action on your big plan in your head or whatever you're going to do for a business. But this guy has created a cabinet company and it's taken from literally the bottom to now he's scaling it all the way up. I'm not even sure at what revenues he's at now, but I know he's doing big things. I hear his name a lot more. I know a lot more businesses in a local level, even in you're spreading your wings now all over the region. So Marcus Waterworth, thank you
Thanks
for coming on, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So we do Waterworths Woodshop Incorporated is the business. My father started it in 1991. Started out as a hobby shop. He was working at a commercial cabinet shop, Northern Woodwork out of Thief River Falls. He was in charge of the specialties department there. Started having some people ask for residential cabinets at that point, and kind of turned it away. But then he was also hog farming on the side and had some barns. Well, when he hung up hog farming, he's a very busy guy, so he decided, all right, well, I'm going to do something here still. So he decided he's going to start building some residential cabinets out of those barns after he retired the barn. So then he started building cabinets out of those barns for people. And the commercial cabinet shop he was at the time only did commercial cabinets. So people would call him up and say, call up that commercial company and say, can I get, a kitchen for my house? Well, we don't do that, but now we have an employee who does, and they give him his number. So he started building up a small customer base, and he continued doing that through nights, evenings and weekends, I should say.
So your dad?
My dad started.
Had an employee that started it?
No, my dad was the employee.
The employee. Okay, got it. Okay,
he started the company at
Cool.
Waterworths Woodshop there.
Yeah, cool.
So then my brother, myself, my sister, we worked out there. Started at 7 years old myself, catching boards on the planer. You know how that is. Just helping out any way that you possibly can. He had grown it by the time I decided I was going to get very invested. It had been to probably 2 or 3 part-time employees. I know one guy that's still with us. He was a farmer who worked for us in the winters when he wasn't farming. Different people doing part-time stuff. And then when I was going to college, I didn't know what I was going to go for. I was working in the shop in the evenings. I decided this is what I like doing. I want to pursue this, basically. And he told me, he said, well, it probably won't work. Cabinets are very tight margins. It's a very tough business. If you're going to do this as your dad, I want you to have a degree to fall back on in case it doesn't work. Do that, and then I'll sell it to you. So I said, okay, well, so I immediately transferred from the university to the nearest tech school. I called up the tech school. I said, here's what's going on. I need a program for this. They were great to work with. Northland Community and Technical College was locally here. Told them what I was doing. They actually had an old program that hadn't been done for years. It ended up being Associates of Business Management, so a 2-year degree is in business, which isn't real common.
You made that up?
Yes. Yep. 2-year degree in business.
I didn't know you could do that. I was actually reading about that on your stuff, and I was like, no way.
Yeah. So that's the one neat thing I've learned, not to get sidetracked, which I do a lot, but what'll happen is, with what I've found out, is if you ask people stuff, especially if it's something that you can offer without really bothering them, places and people want to help you, always. And so if they can offer you something without any, skin off their teeth, they're gonna, they want to help you. And so, if they can take your money to give you guidance and give you a degree, they want to. And that's what I did. I called them and I asked what they could do for me. And it was great. Like, college, without direction is, as you've said on here many times, tends to be wasteful. And I completely agree with that. Myself too, do I need a business degree to do what I'm doing? Absolutely not. Is it a good investment? 100%, in my opinion. My degree costed me $30,000, $40,000 at the most. I don't remember what it was even, I guess. But nowadays, that's not even a week of payroll. It just doesn't make any difference anymore. And so it's just, the fact of the matter is, like, the connections that I made, some of my mentors that I still use to this day were made there. I learned, the program they had me through was QuickBooks, which I use to this day, business law. I took some drafting classes. They worked that in for me as well too, which I still oversee all that at our company as well too. So the stuff that I learned was just extremely helpful to me. What I like about it is, like, I'm not the lawyer for our company, but business law gave me a basic understanding of it. So when my lawyer is talking to me, I have basic understanding going into that. And it's developed over the years, the accounting. I don't do the accounting, but you hear about companies getting taken by their accountants, often. Well, I have a basic understanding of it, having gone through 2 years of accounting now, that it shouldn't happen, of course. When we were growing a lot and starting to grow a lot, I had my professor from the college come out and set up our QuickBooks as it should be set up. And so, those connections are super valuable, super valuable. So,
yeah, college is like the one thing that you can, it costs more money every year, but they can still provide the same amount of value or less.
Yeah, exactly. And it's.
But I like how you created your own degree, because I've never even heard of that shit, and I should have did that.
Yeah. No, it's you get out of it what you put into it, and I've been attracted to business my entire life. I love business, and when I started out in natural resource management, which wasn't for me. It's what my brother went for, and he had a good degree and a good job after it, and I was following in his footsteps. It wasn't for me, but once I found what I was going for, I loved it, and if you can find that, and if you're in it for the right things, college is great. But if you're going there to waste your time, just go get paid to waste your time somewhere else. It's not nonsense to do that, of course, to pay that much money to not know what you're going for. But so then after I got my degree, I used while I was going to college to build up the business, because I knew when I graduated I needed to make a full-time go at this. So I used that time while I was in college. I took about a 3/4 full-time load there, and I spent my evenings working in the cabinet shop, and I spent as much time as I could building up our network of builders and customer base so that I could make it work for me as soon as I graduated. By the time that I graduated, I knew that I had to make it work. I had always hoped that, 10 years in, I could have 3 full-time staff, maybe 4 full-time staff, and do about $500,000 in revenue. Because to me, that would be a decent full-time living, and I could make that work. About the second year in, we were doing double that, so it went a lot better than we had hoped, so it went well. My father ended up quitting his day job shortly, probably 2 or 3 years after I started working full-time out there. He's been instrumental in it.
What year was that?
I would say 2013, 14, something like that.
Okay.
I would guess right about the same time we started doing our first projects through you guys is what I would kind of anticipate.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what I would guess. I remember the first time we did our first job through you guys, we met with you guys over on, was it Demers? Over by the Ultra Clinic there.
Yep.
In your first, or one of your first offices there, I believe. Met with you and Zach. And I remember leaving there with me and my dad, and I told my dad on the way home, I said, I think those guys are going to have one of the biggest companies in town eventually. And he's very smart. He's never been in, he never wanted to have a big company, just not him. He's extremely smart and extremely talented woodworker, but he's never had aspirations to have a big company. It's just not something that interests him. But he left there and he said, if they want to, they definitely can. And, it ended up being that way. So it's kind of fun to look back and kind of call what we thought.
Yeah. Well, and between all of our parents, it's like, it wasn't their dream to have these huge companies.
Right. Yeah.
But to work for themselves was still a huge advantage for them.
I feel sometimes kind of bad, because my dad's plan was to build quality cabinets and then retire into doing high-end custom furniture. And now it's not that. Now it's a legitimate large operation. We've grown it now into where last year was the first year we put out 1 kitchen per day out of our facility. So we do 1 kitchen every day, and that's complete from the first board being cut to being completely installed. So 1 kitchen per day was last year. And just to put into perspective on how things grow, this year, if we did only 1 kitchen per day, we'd be going backwards. So that's how fast things need to progress in this. And we've completed our newest expansion now. We're getting in the process right now of getting things moved. Once this new shop is done, now we need to get the rest of our operations organized to how they need to be. And how this works for us is once we get that done, there's kind of revenue blocks, I guess you could say. So once we get you can only do so many, certain dollars of revenue per the size of company or per the square footage of company that you have roughly. So my ultimate goal, I guess, is to kind of get this size of our operation redlining for probably 2 years or so. And then I have, my ultimate dream, I guess, is to get it so that we're moving onward and going much more automated. We already are automated. We run CNC equipment. We run, everything's very automated, but I want to get it so that we're producing large amounts of cabinets on a huge scale across the entire country. What's neat about that is the route we've taken where we have commercial cabinets, residential cabinets, and multifamily or apartment style cabinets, which is very rare. Since we have that, what we're actually probably, in my opinion right now, closer to offering a mass-produced, fully custom cabinet at a reasonable price than any other places, including the big cabinet places like Medallion Cabinetry. Like, we're probably closer to mass-producing cabinets than they are at a reasonable price for fully custom.
So is Medallion like in Menards or
yes,
these box
exactly.
stores?
Yep, exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
Is that who you're referring to?
Exactly.
Or Home Depots, all these big box stores?
Yep. All those cabinets, Schrock, Medallion, all those cabinet lines, they mass-produce cabinets, but for them to provide a fully custom cabinet, their price is ridiculous because they're just not set up for that. We're trying to get to that, and we're close. I would say we're maybe 5, 6, 7 years away from that right now, which is extremely close. And it's going to take some major investment on our end, and it's going to take us working out some kinks, and like I said, us redlining here for a while so that we can build up the capital to get there. But we're close, and it's when we hit it, it'll be a major game changer. We can start all of a sudden, hitting the hopefully hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue at that point. Shipping country, nationwide. And
yeah.
So that's the ultimate goal. If it doesn't happen, we're finally to a point now to where I can be okay with myself, I guess, if you will. I'm a person who needs to have a lot going. I feel bad for our people around me sometimes. In my personal life, for my wife, and in my business life for the people that I put right around me, because I run around, and if things are going too smooth, I create chaos, or I start fires just to basically make things happen, and then they're the ones who have to tend to them and manage them, I guess. And I feel bad for that sometimes, but it's without that, I'm just not okay, I guess. I need to have things going a lot, and I do feel bad for those people sometimes, but they do extremely well with it, and they're extremely appreciated for doing that. My wife probably wants to kill me sometimes, I guess, but she seems to be okay with it.
Yeah, I got a question then. Okay, so you're up to, you were up to last year 1 set of cabinets per day.
Yep.
What, in 2014, what was the hope? 1 cabinet, what?
So what we started back then, when my initial goal was to do about 1 kitchen per week with 3 guys or so. So typical revenue per employee in a cabinet shop is about $100,000 per employee per year, I should say. And that would be about
top line revenue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So that would be about a kitchen per week, is what that would be. That's what, most 3-4 person shops are putting out that 1 kitchen per week on average. And I call it a kitchen. What I'm referring to there, is a average sized kitchen or an equivalent. If you're doing a couple big bathrooms or something, that might be the equivalent of a kitchen. If you're doing a huge, multi-million-dollar home, which we do quite a few of, that might be, a lot more than a couple kitchens or something like that too. That might tie you up for a couple weeks or something like that sometimes.
Sure.
But yeah, so it all varies, of course, but yeah, that would like back then, we would have been at probably about, like I said, a kitchen per week, and it's been gradually growing ever since then. At some points, you start hitting, to where you turn it from, went from a kitchen per week to where it starts to hit probably 2 kitchens per week, very slow from that. But then once you hit 2 kitchens per week, getting to 4 kitchens per week goes pretty quick, and then it's been building on itself.
What was the hardest part to get to 2 kitchens in a week?
Departmentalizing. What's really the toughest part about all of it is turning production workers into craftsmen, right? And so we do something a little bit different. So we offer commercial cabinets, we offer residential cabinets, and we offer apartment cabinets or multifamily cabinets. That's very rare. Most places, commercial cabinet shops offer commercial cabinets. Residential cabinets offer, residential style cabinets, and cheap cabinets or apartment cabinets offer, that only. We offer everything, and so that kind of ties into this. But what I'm saying is, I guess, each different style of cabinet has its own issues and its own problems to make. And so the same goes for when you're building these cabinets. Like, let's see how to put this, I guess. When we're talking about, let's see how to put this here. If we're talking about
A certain style of cabinet?
yeah, okay. What was the question there again? I'm sorry.
Well, just, what's the hardest part of scaling these types
Yeah, okay.
of
So
cabinets?
turning
to
employees into craftsmen. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
So what we're getting at there is when we're dealing with the turning employees into craftsmen, we're dealing with a lot of different types of cabinets there, like I said. So now all of a sudden we have a lot to learn, right? And taking somebody off, coming in to learn cutting, that's not a problem, right? Cutting out and machining, not an issue at all. Assembly, not too bad. Like, you can learn that stuff. But now when you're a smaller shop, especially, you have to learn cutting and machining. You have to learn finishing. You have to learn installation.
Lots of hats.
Yeah, exactly. Every employee has to become a well-rounded craftsman. Now in a shop our size, we don't have to have that many hats, right? Now we have our specialty guys who know everything. We have our floaters who know a bit of everything, but our finishing people rarely leave the finishing room, right? Our assemblers rarely leave the assembly shop. And so it's, much more specialized, so things go much more smoothly. Since we do offer, like I said, 3 different styles of cabinets with unlimited options for each of them, they still have to be well-versed on the different types of materials and different options out there. But yeah, for the most part, it's still a lot to learn. But turning, the workers into craftsmen is very difficult. Cabinet making doesn't require a ton of credentials. It's not like electricians. It's not like plumbers where you have to go to schooling and have an apprenticeship and all that. It's not like that, but it's no easier. I mean, there's a lot to learn with it. It really is.
Yeah.
It's a very tough and rewarding way to make a living. I mean, there's a lot to learn, but it is very rewarding.
Yeah.
I've had a great life with it. You get obsessed with it. I mean, it's very fun. It's extremely rewarding. One of the problems with woodworking or cabinet making is that your work is out in front of everybody. And the most rewarding thing about woodworking and cabinet making is that your work is out in front of everybody. You see some of the work these plumbers and electricians do. You walk onto a site before the house is closed in with sheetrock and whatnot, and it's beautiful. I mean, they have these nice systems put in place that are all, there's intricate details everywhere on them. And all of a sudden you look and 2 weeks later, they're all behind walls and you can't even see them anymore.
Yeah.
So like our work being out in front of people is fun to see, and we get to really, helps us market and stuff like that as well too. You get to see our work all the time. So
right. So if you're, I'm going to do math quick here. If you're pumping out, last year was 1 cabinet per set per day, and that's a big milestone. If you needed 3 to do 1 a week, if you need 15 to do 1 a day, is that pretty much the multiple, or does it get more efficient as you climb the ladder?
15 what now?
15 guys.
To do 1 a day, yeah, it all depends on. So that, like I said, that's cabinets alone. So we need in that, that's shop alone. So I'd say, our shop alone is probably about 15 to 20. We have our office staff as well too, and then we have our installation. So we run about 30 full-time staff is what we run.
Okay.
And like I said, that was last year, and last year we were probably right around that 20-some mark. This year now we're increased from that. Like I said, now if we did that now this year, we'd be going backwards. So now this year we're running about 30 full-time people.
30 guys, but you're doing 2 cabinets a day.
Yeah, we do. 2 to 3 full kitchens per day is what we typically do.
So the multiple's kind of the same. It's
It
just,
is, it keeps on being the
you're
same.
Scaling.
Yep, and that's one thing I've noticed about this too, is that, and for anybody who's got a smaller cabinet shop, I used to get kind of bummed. I'd go meet with customers, and it gets to be a bit monotonous sometimes. I loved what I'm doing all the time, but you'd see people go out and they get these big jobs, and I'd go out and I'd meet with somebody about a small kitchen, and it's like, okay, and just another small kitchen. But as I've gotten bigger now, it gets larger and more often, but it stays the same. Like, I would go around before and I would meet with a customer about a kitchen, and I would do it again and again and again, or a bathroom, whatnot. And it was the same thing over and over again. Well, I'm still doing that, but now, and as I got bigger, it got to be, oh, here's a beautiful $1 million home. And that was fun, and then that got to be more and more. But now what it is that I'm seeing the most of is I go and I meet with developers, and I meet with large scale builders or big, architects, and I'm in boardrooms, and it's still the same thing, just on a larger scale.
Yeah.
So and I just told one of the guys who's kind of become my right-hand man now, actually, and I told him, I said, I had a huge advantage that you don't get. I started out when the company was extremely small. I've had the opportunity to make my mistakes and grow with the company. So as I grew selling and as I grew designing, the company was going to have to perform as I did, right?
Yep.
He now, as he's taking over some of my roles, as I'm expanding into different areas, he is thrown into it, and he's got to perform to what I was performing and what the shop is performing, with just getting kind of thrown into it. And I'm helping him and I'm easing him into it, of course. But it's a big advantage for me to have been able to grow with the shop, and so neither one of us really had to outperform each other,
Yep.
So that was a big advantage for myself, of course. But
yeah, no, I love that. So let's talk about, we were talking a little bit about before this that, well, you even mentioned it, in 7 years, you plan on scaling. There's a big vision there. And I know you have big goals. So I just want to as your mentality right now, we know how you scaled now to 2.
Mm-hmm.
What is it going to take to get to where you want to go in 7? So is that how many cabinets, we kind of been lining this up with cabinets per week.
Yep.
Is it software? What's going to be like the big hurdles to try and get there?
First step is how I typically handle our growth is, well, 2 different ways. One of the things I equate it to constantly, which I have no idea why I do it. I'm kind of stupid, I guess, but I equate it to surfing, and not even a good analogy, and I've never surfed before, so it's really stupid. But imagine when I talk about growth, how I equate it to our guys out in the shop. We have weekly meetings, and one of the analogies that I continually use is when you're surfing, if you could make your own wave, right? All your growth stems from, if you could generate your own wave, that's the front end of growth. And so how we do that is we could generate our own wave. That's us generating that wave. That is us advertising. That is us doing our social media marketing. That is us calling out to our contractors. That is us reaching out to architects and developers and getting as much interest drummed up as we possibly can. Then once we generate a big enough wave, it's time to try and kind of ride that wave down, right? And if you make that wave too big, you're going to fall. It ain't good, right? So now you have to try and navigate your way down that wave. And once you get that to where you're, coming down that smooth, then it's good. You can't have it going too smooth. It's time to start generating that wave again, right? So you have to drum that back up again. And I keep doing that same cycle again and again and again. Now the variables change, and sometimes you have to grow in different ways. I mean, that's just a very, very broad term of how we tend to grow the company, I guess. But what it's going to take for us, actually, what our individual goals are going to take is, we're at a really tough spot right now. So up to this point has been what I consider to be phase 1 of the shop, taking it from a startup, which my father did that, which I'm grateful for. I personally think taking a company from nothing to a 1 or 2 or 3 person company to taking it is every bit as hard as taking it from a 3-person company to a 30-person company. Mm-hmm. I really believe that, and I have never done that. I don't think I ever will do that, but I really admire people that do that. And so that's extremely difficult. But for us, phase 1 was getting it from 1 person to roughly 30 people, maybe 40 people. We'll see. Mm-hmm. That's phase 1. Once we get that, we need to redline it, like I said, for a couple of years in order to build up some capital for the next phase. Because
what's a red line?
Redlining just means we're pushing it to the max. We're pushing our capacity beyond what it can actually do. And the reason for that is because then you're actually showing some pretty good profits for a while. Mm-hmm. When you're not redlining, you're not showing a lot of profits, of course. So, and what I mean by doing that is that we're finally building up some profits. And I typically don't care much. I'm not a money-driven person. Mm-hmm. I'd argue that you aren't either, I guess. But incentive-driven. I want to have a big, successful company. So you need to handle money and you need to have cash flow and stuff, of course. But money's not what drives me. But in order for our next phase to happen, we do have to have some good capital coming in, or raised, I should say. And then what we can do once we get that there, then it's going to be to invest. Because the real problem with the next phase is, you'll notice that a lot of big commercial cabinet shops get to about the size that we are right now. Residential cabinet shops typically do not. They hit about that 10 to 15 person mark, and then that's where they sit, because there's levels to this where it gets extremely difficult to maximize beyond that. The apartment builders, cabinet builders, I should say, they can sometimes get much bigger. Since we're in all 3, it gives us kind of an advantage. It's an extremely hard thing to do, is to focus on all 3. It causes our staff to have to learn 3 different types of cabinets. Like I said earlier, it's very difficult. That being said, it gives us a big advantage down the road, and it gives us the opportunity to expand in many different directions. Now, the reason that it's so difficult to expand beyond this is because for us, now when we're going to be hitting, like I said, phase 2 here, so we've got some capital raised. What it takes for that is much more automation, right? The number of employees has to increase some. We've always been able to make that work. I think we do that by the same way that you guys do it. We've never really struggled to have too many employees. Even when it's been a real big problem in the area, us obtaining employees hasn't been, and I think it's because of the culture that we set up out there. We provide opportunity, we provide growth. We're always looking towards the future, and they see that. People are attracted to what they want to be a part of. They see there's potential out there for anybody, and they like that. Over money, over anything, they want to see that there's a future in something, and they can be a part of something real. So obtaining the employees shouldn't be too difficult. I think we can reach the capital we need to get there. Automation, of course, is tough. So our next growth for phase 2 of this, and is to get it started, and then it's to fail a bunch and to find our feet underneath us, because that's how you always have to do it, in my opinion. But it's to automate, and then there has to be a huge jump. So when we start hitting this, it's to go from, hopefully before the redlining, maybe 4 or 5 kitchens a day, and then it's to try and get to 20 kitchens a day. Because in order to justify all that big expensive equipment, you have to be doing that kind of volume. So that's why we have, like I said, redlining the operation for a few years. That's what I mean. We have to get there. This next step is a very, very expensive step, and so we have to get there. With a lot of risk, and it always has been a lot of risk, and I'm not at risk. I'm not afraid of risk at all. Yeah. But it is something that you definitely have to be aware of.
What's the hardest part of that scaling? What if you could solve one thing? Is it focus? Because you got 3 lines right now.
Yep.
I used to do like everything in the construction biz. Yep. I was the concrete guy, the remodel guy, the general contractor, whatever. I'll do anything. Just tell me. Yep. Just ask me. Yep. The yes man. Yep. And I didn't start, actually making money till I took one of those things away. Yep. And so do you take away a line? And I'm just an example. I don't know what you do, right? Like, do you focus and you figure out what you can scale quickest?
You can.
Or what's one of the biggest issues of scaling?
You can do that. I don't think you necessarily have to with this. Cabinets is a very, very refined thing already. And we've already been working on that. So what we did, with cabinets, in my opinion, some of the places have got it wrong. And I'm not here to talk bad about anybody doing cabinets. I admire places that build cabinets. We do the same thing, obviously. What we do differently is, so all of our boxes, our cabinet boxes, are the same. So we've simplified things, right? We're maybe call it cheating, I guess, if you want to. But so what we've done is with our commercial boxes, with other places, a commercial cabinet, I should say. I'll start out with that. A commercial cabinet is a melamine box, and it's got laminate doors with a backer on it. They're always slab. That's a commercial style cabinet, like what you guys use on your properties typically. What a residential cabinet is typically, now in custom cabinets, there's no typical, so I say typically. But with a residential cabinet, what that is it's a cabinet box. Can be a number of different products, plywood, melamine, depends on the line. It has a face frame on it, and then it has a wood, typically a wood door that's either painted or stained wood with drawer fronts on the outside. Now, the quality of that can vary depending on the thickness of the material and the quality of the hardware. What an apartment-style cabinet is typically just a simplified, cheaper version of the residential cabinet, right? So what we've done, which makes this all possible for us, is we keep all of our cabinet boxes the same processes, and we demand that. There's no other way for us to do this. We demand that all of our cabinet boxes are 3/4 inch, so it makes for a very sound, durable, sturdy cabinet, right? So no matter if we're selling to apartment complex or we're selling to commercial, which is what they spec anyway, or residential, we have 3/4 inch cabinet boxes. We do different types of material, but our systems are all the same. So it's 3/4 inch cabinet boxes, 1/2 inch backs with nailers on the backside. For our cabinet doors, they're interchangeable depending on the type now. So for our residential, we do a face frame, we do a wood door, we have unlimited options, right? For our commercial style, whatever they spec, but it's almost always a laminate face door. For our apartment style, our base level is it's still the same box and it's still the same hardware. So in my opinion, what they got wrong on the basic version of cheap style cabinets, when you go into Menards and you buy their entry level cabinets, they're bottom of the line stuff. What they got wrong is that they cheapened up the cabinets, and they needed to, I get that. And they put money into the faces of the cabinets, which is fine. You know, they look fine from the outside, right? But they're only a 5-year cabinet. They're not going to hold up well over time. They're not going to, because they're using sometimes 1/4-inch drawer boxes with 1/4-inch bottoms. At the most, they're using 3/8-inch drawer boxes with 1/4-inch bottoms. They're stapled together, as opposed to being doweled together. They're using, you know, thin cabinet boxes. They're just not quality. So what we've done is we're overbuilding the boxes still. We're still using 3/4-inch cabinet boxes. Our hardware is still the same. We're using Bloom undermounted soft close slides. We're using Bloom integrated soft close hinges. So our cabinet box is the same for these apartment style cabinets as it is for a multi-million-dollar home. So our cabinet boxes are extremely overbuilt. What we do to get our price down there is we limit our face selections and we go with a cheaper material for that. So we're using either, number one, a laminate style slab door, which only comes in a select few colors that we offer. So we have that ready to go at all times. Or we're using like probably 4 or 5 different painted colors and shaker style doors. So the shaker style door is a slight amount more than the laminate ones, and you know, it takes just a little bit longer. And then from there on, you can keep adding up a little bit. You can upgrade to a stain style shaker door, but you know, there's little upgrades all the time. But our basic one, we call it a Pemmican Trail style cabinet, just as a homage to where we're located at. But you know, we're doing what you're suggesting there, just by limiting our style of cabinet, but we're still offering it to all the different areas.
Yeah. Well, let's and let's talk maybe pricing, because I think that stuff's more affordable. Like, I remember back in the day, and I don't, you know, the kitchen cabinets, it would be like 40 grand.
Yeah,
for like
crazy.
this custom kitchens.
Yep.
And now today I do apartments, so I'm you know, I most well know that area, well rehearsed. But what's an average apartment, maybe an average house, and then a high end house?
Sure. Okay. So it all varies, and it varies a lot between shops. So you get a lot of, like, say for instance, other residential shops. For different reasons, they charge a lot different prices. But typically, you know, a good quality residential shop is going to have to charge a lot more, for a number of different reasons. But you know, they're not purchasing in volume, they're not doing a lot of other things. But you know, for a typical custom kitchen, a lot of them are going to be around that probably $20,000 at least for cabinets for a residential typical home. We're going to be probably at least, you know, typical residential home, a typical house, not a, you know, big house, but like probably like a 1,500 square foot to 2,000 square foot home. We're going to be, you know, typically 8,000, 10,000. We're a lot less.
Yeah.
It's just because of the volume we produce. That's fully custom everything. Multi-million-dollar house, it all depends on the house.
Yeah, those are going to be tough.
It's really tough to give you a generic price on it. For apartment style homes, again, the layouts depend a lot. It depends on how many units you're talking. But for rough pricing, I mean, I can get, you know, typically I can get into apartment style cabinets that we're offering for, you know, uninstalled cabinets themselves. I mean, I'm talking typically, you know, anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 a unit is all it ends up being a lot of times. I mean, we can get down really tight on some of those for pricing.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and, you know, you live in the, you know, I'd say even he's out of Viking, Minnesota, which is near Thief River.
Yep.
You know, you service 2-3 hours. I mean, you're spreading your wings all over.
We go all over the place.
And, you know, I don't usually do plugs in these, but I think they do a very good job. They'll install, like I said, it's more affordable than you would think to redo your kitchen. It's not something where you need to go to Lowe's and like print out the thing and have the shock and awe, because likely that's not as efficient as it should be. You know, I know you're picking out a kitchen, but like literally they'll come install it. They have tops there. It can be a one and done shop for you. Yep. And I guarantee you're going to spend a hell of a lot less. So, make sure you get a hold of Marcus at Waterworths. We'll link some stuff at the end of this and plug that. So, I want to get back a little bit. You know, obviously you had plenty of challenges. You know, is there anything significant? Say like there's the cabinet guys out there, you know, even there's lots of companies that are 5-6 guys, can't figure out, you know, the 2 cabinets a week. Like, how do I get to that level, or what was the breakthrough? What did you need to do to make sure to get through that? Because that's where a lot of people struggle.
They do. Yep. And it's so ironically for me, it was complete happenstance when I was able to experience our most growth. And I say but it's always been my father and myself. He still works very closely with me, and we do it together. My hat's off to him, because he he's never given me anything. He's always made me earn anything I've had. He's never given me a single handout. But what he did do is when he started selling me the place, even before I was a majority owner, he let me treat it like it was my own. He let me make investments with what he was majority owner of. He let me use the money like it was my own company to make investments, and it's worked out, well for him and well for myself as well too. But I'm extremely appreciative of what he's done there. So when I say I don't mean that. I mean him, and I mean everybody else who's involved out there as well too. But so going back to what you were saying there, I guess. What was that again?
Well, I mean, what can help?
Oh, help them grow.
Smaller companies.
So what
get
happened,
beyond that?
What happened for us was.
What did you do that your dad didn't do?
Right.
Yeah, or didn't want to do?
By complete luck, I was running around looking at jobs. I was, like you said before, you had, I think it was stress or something like that. You said you had medical issues.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing for me. It was, I was going nuts. I was doing the designing. I was doing the bidding. I was working in every single department. And the lifestyle that caused, I'm a fat guy now, but I was very fat, and I was drinking too much. I was doing everything too much. I've always been a guy where if something's good, it's going to be great if I do way more, right? That's just me. I'm a person who push everything to the extremes. That's just who I am. And so when it was coming to eating, I was doing that. When it was coming to everything in my life, I was doing that. Well, it led me to be overweight. It led me to bad lifestyle, basically. And I ended up out at a job and ended up having a pancreas attack, and it laid me up in the hospital for a week. And I ended up being shut down at my house for about a month. And then I couldn't work on the shop floor for about probably 3 months, I would guess. Mm-hmm. As I recovered from that, I was confined to my office. Well, I can't sit still. And so while I'm sitting in my house, I have to be doing stuff. So all of a sudden, I'm paying attention to business only. I'm paying attention to everything business with the cabinet shop. And I'm not dealing with things in the shop. And I'm realizing, okay, this is way more beneficial. From that day, I've never went back to working full-time in the shop. It used to be where I worked 40 hours a week in the shop and probably 40 hours a week in the office. Yep. From that day, it's been more than full-time in the office and some in the shop. Now I hardly work out in the shop at all. I go check on things and make sure that...
Do they do things better than you used to?
Yeah, some of them do for sure. Yeah,
that's when I go out in the concrete field. It's like, ah, shit. They're kicking my ass now.
Absolutely.
I was the godfather there for a while, so I was like, damn it.
We've got some.
I kick your ass in anything concrete, but I can't anymore.
Extremely talented guys out there. Some of those guys, I admire the heck out of them. They're extremely talented at what they're doing there. We've got some guys out there that the stuff they're building is just, it's incredible. And some of them, how fast they've gotten to that level too. I've been exposed to stuff since I was a kid, and I've always considered myself an extremely talented woodworker. And I'm very well rounded. I know a lot of all the different aspects and stuff. But some of the stuff those guys can build is astounding. It really is.
Yeah. You don't want to watch me build anything in cabinetry. Sure. Yeah. I get scared of the table saw.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't have it's weird. Like with concrete work, I could just I want it to be mint and perfect. Yeah. That's just the way I am. Yeah. Comes to trim work, I'm like, my wife has all these projects going on, as you know.
Yeah.
She calls you.
Yeah.
I think she texts you.
Oh, yeah.
We should have you change your number. So she's always ordering cabinets. But I just hack some shit together. I'm just not a good finished carpentry guy.
To speak on that, I can't operate heavy equipment. I have a block. I don't know what it is.
I have a block.
It's terrible. I was doing some work at my house one time, and the guy was there, and he left some stuff at his house or at my house, and I wanted to move something. He said, "Oh, just hop in and move it." And I ran into my deck, took it out with the skid steer. And it's just, that's how stupid I am. I can't figure it out. I can't figure up or down. I can't figure out anything on them.
But you know your strengths, and you're fitting to them. And I want to go back to that. So, okay, well, these smaller companies, I think, you're going to have to start letting go. And that's whether it was health or whatever you figured out. That's what it took for me. I winded up in the hospital, and just that's what it took for me to I need to make a change. The 6 coffees and 2 monsters is probably not good.
Exactly.
Every day, and it caught up with me. Mm-hmm. And I just needed to let go, which I had a problem.
Yeah.
It was my own problem.
Yeah.
I was my best worker and my worst enemy on growing anything. So that's where I dove into business and just tried to learn. I took it upon myself for a few years, but then I took on EOS, as you know that story, and that's really where
on the podcast, and it was great to listen to.
Yeah,
it really was. All your podcasts. I want to say that actually while we're talking here, what you're doing here, I appreciate so much. I love listening to podcasts. I listen to them in audiobooks all day long. I love business, and to hear the stories of like Northdale, to hear Deitzler Electric story. I've worked with Mac for many years now. To hear your guys' story, the backstory, the behind-the-scenes stuff of it all, I love it. For you to take time out of your schedule to put these out, I truly appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm a regular listener to them, as you know. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate all you're doing for that. I also appreciate your story quite a bit, because there was a time when I was just starting out where, as every young guy, you don't know. Like I said, I'll never be a person. I do some of my own hobby businesses now, if you will.
Yeah.
But I'll never be a guy who started the company. And I've always thought about that. And I thought about starting my own company way back when. And I often think about, like, if I had started my company as opposed to taking over my father's company, what it would be like. And I kind of look to you, because you started off with your father at a young age. We have very similar stories in some senses. And to see what you did starting off, from yourself after having worked for your father. I like to follow your story just to, it could have been this way if I'd have done this or what. I like to see that. I really like to see what you've done here. It's very incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad and I are both stubborn people apparently, or something, we clashed and it just, the vision alignment changed, and he didn't want to grow and I wanted to grow. So obviously you had a connection with your dad that he wanted to pass the baton and keep you rolling, right? Like you wanted to keep things growing. So my dad helped me in my business early on. I helped him in his business still. It was like we were helping each other. He was just phasing out, and then I just kept pushing, which that's what he wanted to do. So have you, as you grow then, we were talking a little bit about this in scaling, have you considered, like, does EOS help you bring, we were talking about this before, like, what do I track? How do I only spend 1 to 2 hours a week at Mac Construction, my construction company? Great leadership team, great leadership board. They run the company. I have input. I deal with real big problems. But I almost stay out of every department, right? And you got operations, you got marketing, you got sales, you got, there's really only a few pieces to the company. And, is that how you're set up now, or
essentially? Yes.
Okay.
So what we do right now, so like I said, it used to be where I wore all the hats. My father wore a few, and I wore the rest of them. And then as we've grown now, we set it up so that we have, there's different departments for everything. Out in the shop, we've got different departments and leads for every department. We've got a few people in charge of the shop as a whole, who the leads are responsible to. In the office, we have different people, in charge of different departments of the office as well too. I still wear a few of the hats. I'm still, I'm president of the company, which is my role as president, in my opinion, is the visionary, as you talk about a lot of times too. I decide which way I think we should go, which way is beneficial. And then my other duties, daily duties, are to oversee the design. I don't do a lot of design anymore, but I oversee the design, dealing with immediate problems, of course. If there's issues, I have to be on top of those. But my main thing right now is setting up processes for where we're going. So the apartments have been a big push of ours, which have been going well. So right now, I've been dealing with all of that. And while I'm doing that, I will set up a team to deal with that. And then once I get that team set up, then I'll go on to the next thing. And then, so that's how I deal with the expansion, is I take it on, I deal with it exclusively. I'll grab people to help me and stuff with it, of course, but I deal with that exclusively to see how I think it should operate. I get systems in place for it. And then once I feel that's running smoothly, I'll jump to the next thing to start that fire.
Gotcha.
That's kind of how I deal with it.
And I think for a lot of people, they like I'm a visionary, and you put me in a room full of systems and processes, and I'm like,
no fun.
I'm not listening. Like, my listening skills aren't good, and they're really not good when we're doing systems and processes. How do you, as a visionary, and some people are visionaries and very good at process. Ryan Pineda is one of my mentors, but he does work through some processes much better than I do even. So what is a system and a process? Like, what, you got this new apartment grade, and you're trying to scale this. how do you systemize? How do you organize that? What's your thought behind that?
So the first thing to do, honestly, through working it through backwards typically is what we typically do. Using the experience from our previous work, same type of things. I put high priority on it. So when I take on a new large builder or a new large project like that, I have to make promises, and I have to make sure those promises are met, and I have to make sure other customers are aware that, hey, this is going to be taking priority. And it can lead to some issues. I mean, it can be tough. I'm aware of that. I talk about this stuff, and I'm not saying, oh, it's easy. I'm not. It's not. It's not easy. It's definitely not. It's very tricky. It can lead to some issues. There's a lot of people that work closely around me that I end up stressing out a lot with some of this stuff, and I understand it. But it's the only way to grow. There's a lot of mishaps that happen, and we're constantly pushing the envelope, I guess. But
so when those mishaps happen, do you create are these documented?
Oh yeah, everything we do is extremely documented.
Okay.
Everything, yeah.
Okay.
We document everything. You only, unfortunately, maybe there's better ways, but from what I've seen, you fail. It's gotten to be where I kind of enjoy failing a little bit. You have to fail, and hopefully it's not a big fail. Hopefully, it's just a small deal and you catch it before anything really happens or anybody even has to notice about it. But you're going to have these small little issues you have to figure out in a hurry and in a pinch. But you're going to fail. You're going to. No matter what you're doing, I don't care what it is. I've had some things I've tried to launch that just didn't work. I mean, many times, but it just didn't happen at all. But for as far as the stuff, a lot of times, like with the commercial, we're getting into the very large commercial projects now that we're shipping around the Midwest. And those ones we started out small, got our feet wet, realized, we can handle that kind of volume, and those went very good as we started jumping into the bigger jobs with those, of course. So the apartments have been very good as well there too. And like with those ones now, almost every one of our customers know, hey, as we take on a 100-unit apartment, that takes priority. And most of them are very good with it, and we're very transparent with our schedule as much as we possibly can be. And so, people are aware of what we're doing, and they're aware of how much we're trying to do for them. Like I said, I'm not a person who's incentivized by money and profits at all. I'm to my own detriment a lot of times. I mean, people can talk me into pretty much anything, unfortunately. But I just want to make sure that we have to make sure it cash flows. I mean, business has to be first. Things have to work out. But I really... They typically know how much we're trying to do for them and how much to make it work out for, and people appreciate it. People really do, I think, appreciate our efforts. We're have very good standing in our community, and our employees seem to really like it. Like I said, we never struggled to get employees. It's went as good as you could hope trying to build a fully custom cabinet shop in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of likely. Yeah, well, people always get critical right away, and you can't, as an entrepreneur, you want to be a people pleaser. That's just by nature, right? Absolutely. Like you don't want to disappoint anybody. And if you do disappoint people, you just gotta take it and be like, it was my mistake.
I've struggled my entire life with anxiety and depression, always have.
Yeah.
Right? So with that being said, I learned at a young age that depression is much worse. And so if I don't want to deal with depression, I have to take on way more than I want to. And that leads me to anxiety, but I'll take the anxiety over the depression. And with that, like all of a sudden with the anxiety, like as long as I'm truly giving it my best, I can live with it. Like no matter how much people hate me as long as I'm truly giving it my best, which I need to keep myself in check with. I need to always make sure I'm truly giving it my all, because it's easy to say, I tried my hardest without trying your hardest. But as long as I'm truly giving it my all and I'm not, just half-assing it, as long as I'm trying my hardest, if people are not satisfied, it is what it is.
Are you good with reflection? See, many people that are depressed or anxiety, it's like you got to reflect on, think about how far you have came. Even when you're down on yourself and the line that you thought was going to be the next best thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. It's tough because, by nature, and my wife gets after me for it too a lot. She's a great person. She kind of holds me together, of course, all the time. But I feel like always like I'm the biggest failure in the world, no matter what. Like that's just how I feel, and like she'll keep on. And I'm not looking for like pity. That's farthest thing from it. I just,
Yeah.
I just how I feel. That's how I'm wired. Like, what a loser, it's just, and it is what it is. And I've gotten kind of used to it, I guess. But,
Yeah.
and maybe it's better to feel that way than to feel too proud of yourself. I think.
Well, you just as an entrepreneur, you always want more.
Yeah,
That's
Yep.
the world we live in.
Yep.
And we want to do great things. We can make some mistakes. You read the book Gap and the Gain?
Audiobook. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't read, but I listen to them all the time.
You listen to them, yeah. And it's a great book that helps you reflect. Well, what's I got some questions here. Then I'm going to rattle off. Which, what's one of your best investments and one of your worst? And this could be whether it's in the
Sure.
cabinetry or outside the cabinetry.
So best investments, I would say.
Whether you want to tell me or not.
No, I'm an open book. I don't mind. So as far as best investments go, I would say that inside of work, and I encourage this for anybody who's starting out, and I've told this to our employees, and the number of people who've asked me to do it is none. And it's astounding to me. But I asked my father, and I understand it's my father, and it's a different relationship than most, but the amount of people who so how I first started buying into the business was I didn't need any money back then. Like I said, I've never been a person who really cared much about money, but I gave 3/4 of my paycheck back to the company. That's how I started buying into the company before I had any money. I had nothing.
Sure.
I was just out of college. Actually, I was doing it while I was in college. And I gave 3/4 of my paycheck back to the company. I did that for a very long time until I built up some money. And then, I started buying in more and more. And I went and got loans to buy in. And, it's just, you do whatever you can. And that money's ended up being a fantastic investment for me. But I encourage people out there. You'd be amazed at the people who are willing to help you, to let you buy into something. And they're maybe not going to give you a controlling percentage, of course. They're not, but they'll let you invest with them. Like, not everybody will, but what's the worst they're going to say? No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not a big deal. I mean, that's one thing I learned from sales is getting told no is not a big deal. I mean, it just doesn't matter.
It happens.
Outside of work, outside of the cabinet shop, I should say, I love business, like I've said many times. And we own probably, me and my brother, and our wives, I guess, but we own probably 10 rental homes. It's fun. I know you're big on rentals.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not a make or break us thing. It's just for fun.
Long term.
Yeah, not even really. Honestly, I'll give it to my kids. I mean, I'll never cash them out. I never really sell anything. But I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. It's just, it's the hustle of it. It's a hobby for me. I enjoy business, and so we make sure it cash flows. We make sure it doesn't really pay us anything. Like I said, I'm really not a person who's driven by money. To my own detriment, I'll make sure we never have. And you've talked about it before too, but don't ever have any cash. What good is it going to do you?
Yeah.
And like I said, I listened to biographies on business owners, and one thing I've always found kind of neat, but John D. Rockefeller, the richest man to have ever lived. If you took his wealth, it would be like 44, was it billion? I mean, it's a huge amount, absolutely astounding. I mean, he'd be the richest man by ever if you took inflation. When he went around buying these moderate to small-sized oil companies to create his monopoly, he urged them to buy, take Standard Oil stock, and not because he told them. The reason was because that they, you're going to never have to work again. Your kids never have to work. But that wasn't the truth. That was what he sold to him. But the truth of it was he didn't have any cash. I mean, here's the richest guy in the world with no cash to buy these small to mid-sized oil companies. And that's the truth of it. I mean, it's the people who actually have acquired stuff typically don't have cash reserves or large amounts of cash. At times they do, but I mean, it's something that I wish that the average person would understand as well too. These people you perceive as being very wealthy are not sitting on wads of cash.
Yeah, you're either rich or wealth,
exactly,
and you're not going to make a ton of money even sitting 5% in the bank.
Other than that,
doesn't matter.
I've had fun with penny stocks and some Bitcoin and stuff.
Just
for fun.
Yeah. Whether it went good or bad, it's like, this isn't for me.
Yeah, just for fun.
Yeah. What's your biggest fear?
Health-wise and stuff, I suppose, but letting people down is my big one. I hate it. I scares me all the time to let people down. That's probably the biggest cause of anxiety for me, I guess, is letting people down. That, and of course, I'm a big family guy, and I anytime I hear about a kid being very sick or something like that, oh man, that scares me so bad. But short of that, letting people down is a big one for me. I don't know, not living, not doing what I can as well too, missing out on something I should be doing because I'm just being too stupid or being too bold to see an opportunity. That bothers me. Missing out, I guess, bothers me. Things like that, stuff that I should be reacting to that I'm just being too arrogant or bold for, or whatever the reason is, I guess, but.
Yeah, no, I love that. All right. So we're talking a lot about scaling. In 10 years, where will you be at? 2033.
Hopefully alive. That'd be great.
Start with that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Where you be at in business?
What I hope is I would love to be, who knows what happens with employees with automation and stuff. I mean, I hate to use employees as a reference. I'd love to be at, you said, how many years? 10 years, you said?
10 years, 2033.
I would like to be at 100 million. I think would be a fair number. I'd like to be at, delivering, shipping cabinets nationwide, full line of my underlining thing with cabinets. So my underlining goal has always been to provide a quality cabinet at a good price, like a fair price, and other options as well too. But I want to have a product that's attainable for the average person and a good quality cabinet that's fully custom. That's what we've always set out to offer, and I truly believe in that. And if that's out there, I think it catches on, and I think we can offer that. And once that is offered, I think it really works. I really do. And I think we can set up the systems and practices to make that happen. And we're not afraid to do what needs to be done to make that happen. I think we can achieve that. I could be wrong, been wrong many times. I'm not afraid to be wrong either, but that's what I'm shooting for, and that's where I'd like to be at.
Yeah, you might get some venture capital that's listening to this that wants to invest. No, that's a big goal, man. And so how many cabinets a day would that be? Approximately. You're not going to do all the math.
Oh, I can figure it out. It would be roughly about 15 kitchens a day, 20 kitchens a day.
20 kitchens a day. Well, hey, you're beating Elon Musk on the Cybertruck. Maybe he'll be freaking out at that pace by then too. So, no, cool, man. I'm excited to watch the journey too.
Yeah, absolutely.
What does unfollow the herd mean to you?
Unfollow the herd. Buck the trends, I guess. I guess individually, I think what it means is to figure out what the herds are doing, and then go against it. And I think what it means to me is what the average person right now is looking to do is maybe go to work and have it as easy as they can and relax on the weekends. And they always talk about having fun, and I don't value fun really, I guess. I mean, you find fun in anything, and you can relaxing on the weekends. It never interested me, I guess. But find something that drives you and follow that. The best advice I can give anybody is to don't, especially for young kids, if you're deciding what you want to do, or where you want to be at, don't listen to, sorry, moms and dads, but don't listen to your mom and dad. Don't listen to your girlfriend. Don't listen to anybody. The people that care about you are giving you advice because they want you to succeed. What you need to do and you need to realize is you need to think out your steps, and you need to decide where you want to be at, where you need to be at in order to be, satisfied with your life. Once you figure that out, you need to put your blinders on and do not sacrifice that until you get there. You can compromise, you can make slight adjustments, but you need to put your blinders on and achieve that regardless of what anybody or the herd is doing. And you need to just follow through it. If you give yourself opportunities to be sidetracked, you will be sidetracked every single time.
Yeah, most people don't. They lack focus when they attain their goals. When you can get really clear in your head and actually ask yourself, what do I want to do?
So many people, in my opinion, they just spend their time going through the motions. And I see it sometimes with staff. I see it with people. They don't realize what they want out of life, and it's a pretty incredible opportunity that we all get. Figure out what's going to satisfy you, or where you want to, see yourself to be satisfied, and and try and figure it out. I mean, just do what you can, because if you're just going through the motions, I mean, what a waste. I mean, really, it's just.
Yeah, just time's passing you by then.
And it doesn't have to even be business. I mean, I've got a good friend who he doesn't have any interest in business, but he used to install cabinets for you. He's probably been on some of your jobs, actually. And he lives a very nomadic life. He has actually moved out to Colorado, and he kind of a vagabond, and he could write a book about it and be very cool, but he's living the life he set out to make, and it's a very interesting life. And I mean, I keep in touch with him just to hear his stories and stuff. He lives his life snowmobiling and stuff, and it can be that kind of life too. That's admirable. I mean, there's many people who've had cool lives like that, and it doesn't have to be, you know, geared towards financial success, but figure out what you want to do and go get it.
Yeah. Cool. I like that. How do we find out more? If, you know, obviously we could probably Google you.
Yeah.
And
sure.
Where else? Yeah.
So business wise, our biggest following is Facebook, just a demographic for our customers. Waterworths Woodshop, Instagram as well. That's the two that I run. We have other people running other ones. So you'll find us on LinkedIn, TikTok, Pinterest, a few other ones there as well too. Waterworths Woodshop, myself personally, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I think that's it. But yeah,
you're
always welcome to give us a call at our shop. I'm always available. You can give us a call. Any questions anybody has on cabinets, anything, whether you're buying from us or you just have general questions, I want to help people with cabinets as much as I can. I've become obsessed with them over the years, and I want to help people learn about them and understand them. So if you guys have any questions, call our office. We have information up on our website, www.waterworthswoodshop.com. Give us a call. Look our stuff up. We're there to help people. We want to have people understand what they're purchasing, what they're looking to purchase, whether you purchase them from us or anywhere else. We're information based. We want people to understand. They want to be educated on cabinets and purchasing cabinets.
Yeah. Hey, I use them myself. They've been awesome to work with. Since 2014. I try to remember how long you've been rolling on this. You're doing great things, man. We appreciate you having you on. We're going to get you back on at some point here and hold you accountable.
Absolutely. Perfect.
So, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marcus.
Thanks, Mark.
See you.